Hello friends, it is that time again with that Erickson, and I do apologize for having no content on my channel for a while, but in reality, since the pre-alpha 5.7 rolled in, there hasn't been super amount of big changes that had me excited to be playing a lot of Crowfall. We've had the introduction of zones, which are separated by connections, but that was very basic. So we had the campaign world separated by the 3 beachheads for each faction as separate worlds, so for a total of 4 worlds. But that really didn't show the power of the campaign system and how we're going to have multiple worlds. We've had the introduction of a couple new servers, one for Brazil, which is super cool for me as I live in Brazil, and some other little bits and pieces here and there, like the Stoneborn became a playable race, little things, nothing major. We still didn't have a true campaign either, which meant no real reason to be online other than just the basic testing. Basically, we didn't have a test where choices really mattered so far. I personally also have recently become a father, so that's been taking up a lot of my time. Our baby girl is a little over 3 months now. She showed up 1 month early, so you can imagine we've been kind of crazy over here. But we do have some big news with regards to some changes coming from crafting all the way to active training. And yes, you heard me right, active training. As you may or may not know, Crowfall was built on a premise of a passive account-wide training system that you could skill up and train over time, even if you weren't in the game, akin to something similar to EVE Online. However, that left some people wondering, what was the real point of being online in the game doing things? Obviously there's some obvious points that are a bonus for being in the game, such as you're helping your faction, you're meeting new people, and you're just having fun and harvesting materials and all those little things. But in terms of who had more skill, in terms of the passive training tree, there really wasn't a big difference there. Yes, you might be able to get some levels on people. Levels were introduced where you would get some attribute points to apply to your character. But the leveling system was never meant to be difficult. They've even confirmed that further in a recent live stream, that getting to the max level will be very fast because they want us to use the new talent system, which we're going to go into about the active training now. So without further ado, let's get into some new stuff we know. So, we did get a new trailer that was shown during the Trick or Treat Halloween stream. There was some awards given for who would make a spooky gift rather. And I was happy to say I got 7th place. I got a free guild name reserve token. So if anyone's interested in that, please let me know. I'll probably do a giveaway for it because I don't plan on running a guild myself. So if you need to reserve one, stay tuned for that. The trailer was pretty cool. I thought it had some rough edges but to me, all in all, it was pretty sweet. We got a picture of how the first campaign in 5.8 will look, like the map structure. So we have a full cluster of islands, as we can see here, to make a full world, plus the 3 beachheads as before. So with 5.7, as we mentioned, we only had 1 main land and the 3 beachheads. Now we got a brief view. The UI shows a lot more islands of varying sizes. And now we're also going to be able to finally see the power of the procedural generated lands and maps, which is one of the bigger selling points to me for Crowfall, is that the maps are never going to be the same. Every time that a new campaign starts or a new world is generated, it's going to be procedurally generated, which is super cool. Not a lot of games have something like that, so it's one of Crowfall's big selling points to keep the game fresh and inviting. We're going to see the power of this feature now because, like I said, since we only had 1 technical real campaign land, you really weren't getting the use to seeing the power of the procedural generation. We also got some word from J. Todd Coleman during the stream that we're going to have a rough estimate of maybe 2,000 players can inhabit the total world. Obviously, this is still pre-alpha. There's a lot of things that go into that decision in terms of hardware, how many people are playing, the popularity. We don't know what that number will be, but the first rough estimate is around 2,000 players can inhabit a world, which is great. It might not be as critical right now because in the pre-alpha, there's a very small contingency of players that play consistently, and J. Todd Coleman mentioned this as well in his stream, stating how a lot of people come on every now and then, a month or so, check out the game, see what's new, and then they kind of disappear until something new comes along again. And that's been my play style recently, but hopefully that'll change now with 5.8 coming on the horizon, with a snap test actually coming out tonight, which hopefully I'll be able to get a look at in the stream. So on to the topic of the campaign itself. We know it's coming. We know it will be full, but we still don't have a lot of information on what that means in terms of rewards for winning that campaign. But stay tuned, as obviously as the game is closer to launch, we're probably going to have more information on that. One of the main arguments, like I said, people still had with the passive skill training system was the lack of the in-game purpose. So since there is no active skilling, meaning if I stay in the game for 10 hours online doing things versus someone who's offline for 10 hours, our passive skill trees would be identical if we started at the same time, obviously. So this would basically eliminate any variety from the characters in terms of their skills. That's changing now. We are being introduced to a promotion system with the character classes. So now if you're a warrior or a knight rather, and you are a ranger, as you level, you're going to get points that you can put into a skill tree. And that skill tree will do things like unlock new abilities, new disciplines, and basically a avenue or type of way your character is going to focus. So, for example, a ranger could be a bow-wielding, typical, Robin Hood ranger, or you can be the dual-wielding Strider from Lord of the Rings style of ranger, and you get to make those choices as you level up, and that's tied to the character vessel that you have created. So that's cool. Those choices are going to be those points are not going to be unlimited. So you're going to have to really think about those. But like I said before, the ability to level up quick is something that Crowfall is really trying to do. So if you want to swap out to another vessel, try a whole nother class, you can do that. And the leveling up to the max level, which at the moment 30. That's going to be pretty quick for us. So there's not going to be a lot of problem there. So that is great news for the combat players of the world, but what about the ever popular crafting community? How are they going to get some new items? Well, fear not, there was a live stream where Blair was showing off some of the new features with the crafting system. We got some new tooltips, some new icon art, the ability to use a search bar to search for recipes, which is really cool. Difficulty changes when using better or quality materials. So the better your materials are, the difficulty of your recipe or your craft will be a little harder or easier. We're also going to have like a risk change option, which was kind of showed off in the stream as well. So you can decide to put more risk into your craft, and obviously that comes with better rewards and more chance of failure. But that's something, that the hardcore crafters are probably going to use and risk if they have the resources to try the more risky patterns. Now, also a few changes where before passive training and the skill trees would unlock recipes for your particular craft. This seems to be moving in favor of disciplines unlocking the recipes that you gain instead of the passive skill tree. So I don't know how that's going to play out. It seems a bit awkward. I don't know how that's going to work. I'll have to test it out for myself to confirm my understandings and maybe change my opinion. Basically, I found it hard to choose what I would want to stick into my discipline. So, for example, you have your two majors, your three passives, and your two weapon skills, your two weapon disciplines. And I always felt like I was one major short from having a really cool build, or one passive short from having a really cool build. So I always felt like that was a tight crunch. So to think that I will have to use possibly disciplines to determine which recipes I can carry, that seems to be like you're paving the way to having a vessel who's specifically for crafting. And if you want to go out and harvest, switch to your harvesting vessel. And that might become more frustrating than it is a bonus, but we'll see when we are able to test that more upcoming with the next patch. The other thing about the disciplines is that it's always been said that getting disciplines and crafting disciplines is going to be difficult. It's not going to be super easy. So that's also going to add into this same topic I was just talking about, where the difficulty of obtaining them is going to really, it's going to tie your hands a little bit in terms of which you can slot in, and let's say you work so hard on a particular discipline and in the end you really don't like it. You're going to have to go out and, find a new recipe, find a new crafter, or do it yourself to get that new discipline. Originally, with the alpha, we're able to just make any discipline we want with a few ore and a dust. So it's been quite simple. But there has been a lot of changes to Crowfall since its inception. If you think about it, originally we were kind of anti-race class, and now we have race class combos. We had no active training, and now we do have active training. We had a VIP system that would let you train 3 skills at once. Now we got rid of the whole general combat thing in favor of talents, so that's gone. So we're gonna see lots of changes, guys. So it's kind of the interesting, exciting portion of watching game development right now. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride. So what do you guys think? How do you feel about the new 5.8 info drops? We've had some that we've had come out recently. I'd love to hear your opinion on 5.8 or Crowfall in general. Are you still remaining hyped and vigilant? Is the lengthy development process being very public and in your face making you less interested, more interested? Is it wearing you down? I'm personally wanting more and more these days. And I think that's all because I've mentioned this in other videos where I feel it's today's day and age is this whole, crowdfunding and Kickstarter generation. So we're a part of things from the very beginning and we're watching everything. And while that's great, it's also really long. I don't think people back in the days when World of Warcraft came out, nobody really knew that game was being developed for 4 years unless you were really, really close to your ear was close to the ground for the development of that game. Obviously, the internet wasn't as huge as it is now, but still, I feel like games just kind of appeared and you're like, oh, cool, this game's coming out. And then it would be out within 6 months. Now you're watching a game being developed from start to finish. Pre-alpha was not something you would ever get into unless you were very lucky. I had a friend who played Warhammer Online as an alpha tester. It was very hush-hush. Nobody could talk. Nobody could show anything. You were very lucky to get a pre-alpha invite. This is a new generation where we're supporting the developers by buying in or pre-ordering or whatever you want to call it, crowdfunding. So I think that's been making it feel a little more lengthy and a little more arduous. So I think that has its pluses and its minuses. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below on something about that topic. Well, that's it, guys. It's been a while since I made a video. We'll be definitely streaming more on Twitch when the 5.8 patch comes along. I'm looking to do a giveaway for Crowfall, a package for the game itself. I wanted to do it for my Extra Life, but nobody donated, so we're going to roll it over into some other giveaway down the road. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, guys, as always, this has been That Erickson, and until next time, take care, friends.